Welcome, listeners and watchers on the wall, to another AfterBuzz TV after show for Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 4, The Last of the Starks. On this episode, we're talking romance and, better yet, rejection. We're teasing some treason, and we're talking the War of the Mad Queens. Coming up, stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Ba-da-dum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, ba-da-dum. This song never gets old.
It never does, never does, never does, never does.
What's up, everybody?
I'm jealous. You guys got skills.
We're like the intellectuals over here, just judging.
I'm an intellectual.
Of course you are.
Welcome back to AfterBuzz TV for another Game of Thrones after show. I'm your host, Ryan Malaty, and I'm joined here by the best panel I could ever have. To my left, we have Anna K. Thomas.
What's up,
she
guys?
is obsessed with this show and has all kinds of news and gossip for you coming up at the end, so she's perfect for the panel. We have the perpetually lovely Krysten Elizabeth Snyder.
What's up, guys?
She was raised by magical circus folk. Ask her if it's true.
And I was raised by wolves.
And Professor Jeremy Dann on the end, raised by wolves, and he's always got some strategery for us. So when we're talking battles, he's the guy we're gonna have on our panel to help us out with that. So we got an awesome panel like always. We're happy to have you guys back here for another episode. We're gonna jump right in and just talk first thoughts. Reactions, favorite moments, something you just want to talk about before we get into our subjects that I listed earlier. Boom. First thoughts. Go. What you got?
I liked Theon getting Sansa's Stark pin only
Yeah.
because I've come around. You guys know Theon has not been my favorite. I have issues with his character and his motivations, and I actually came around and thought it was a really beautiful, fitting thing for him to be buried with the Stark pin, or burned, but like honored with the Stark pin, and for his arc to be completed at Winterfell at his home with the Stark pin.
That was a nice
touch.
That was a nice moment. Not every character gets a nice, closure, moment. And all of our characters that died last episode kind of got that. So that was
Exactly,
nice.
and he was so instrumental in protecting Bran. So.
Yeah.
You guys know I always go with the most dramatic
Yes.
part of the episode. So obviously I'm going to go to whenever Missandei was at the edge. I mean, we knew she was going to die. We just didn't know how. We didn't know if Cersei was going to push her. Turns out the mountain has, continued to make more enemies. Grey Worm now will probably be assisting the Hound. Yeah, exactly. So I was shocked to see the way they did it. I thought the way they had her on the edge, they were going to push her.
Yeah.
But instead, they beheaded her in front of everyone, which I did not expect.
So if you guys you're watching now, we also do a watch along, so you can watch us watch the episode. And in that moment, we were trying to guess what her last words were going to be. I was thinking Dracarys, so were you, right, Jeremy?
Yeah.
But I didn't say it, so no one believes you when you don't say it, So but what was it? What she said, Dracarys.
Dracarys.
And then I was thinking, oh my God, is a dragon just gonna show
I know,
up
that's
behind
what
her?
I was wishing,
Yeah.
but it didn't happen.
But I mean, she lost her head, and that's some real consequences to
And I
to
think
being in
she
the position.
said Dracarys because she wants the city to burn now.
Yeah,
So
she's
that was
basically
kind of
telling Dany,
her wish,
Yeah.
her last
burn 'em all.
words.
I thought the
her
mountain
wish.
was going to do the Elia Martell move, which is even more violent and dramatic, but it was just the beheading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's plenty more time for that. I mean, we got.
There might be another
we only
death or
have two
two.
more episodes.
Oh.
Oh man.
I know.
All
crazy.
right. Well, I personally liked. Wait, go for it. What's yours?
I'm going to take two. One, kind of what appeared to be a happy time for a little bit, and that's when, the Hound said, when it looked like Gendry needed to get a little loving, essentially go for it. They're dead. You're not.
Yeah, the dead are dead.
And that, it
you're
was
not.
embracing the fact that people were celebrating life on that night, and that led to what we all thought was about to be a Winterfell orgy. So a little bit of comic relief, a little bit of real human emotion and spirit. And a second aspect, just because finally we see someone making really intelligent, strategic moves. That ambush at Dragonstone, I was looking at Anna Kay, I essentially called the shot, literally. I think I was saying, someone's about to die here, and that was a great strategic move by them. I hope this final battle lines up of good strategic moves against good strategic moves, not like
What they've been
dumb on
doing.
dumb action.
We will get more into it. I know
Yeah.
your favorite parts are always have
Yeah.
to do with strategery. I mean, that's Professor Strategery over there. We'll get into it for sure. I'd say one of my favorite moments, just to bring it back to Winterfell, was when they were all kind of celebrating, drinking, playing that drinking game. Tyrion's little twist on Never Have I Ever.
Love it.
Yeah, isn't that great? I kind of want to play it someday. I still don't know all the rules, I don't think, but it just seems like a lot of drinking and kind of playing Never Have I Ever. And it was like one of those moments where
We have cups.
I know, I was
That's
supposed to say that.
You're a virgin?
Oh my gosh.
No, it's one of those moments where you don't think you're ever going to get back to because we're so deep in conflict in this series. But to have them all just sitting around drinking, having Tyrion and Jaime talking together again, it just seemed kind of like nostalgic to
Nice
me at the
reprieve
time. Yeah,
Between the two wars.
It was fun. Tormund was fun as always. I really just loved that whole party.
Yeah,
that was
it was
my initial guilty pleasure of the episode. But we have a lot to talk about. First thing we're going to talk about is romance rejected. And the reason why we're calling it that is because there was a lot of different romantic storylines that seemed to either come to an end or to come to some kind of pivotal complication, right? So let's start off with one that's kind of like a new blossom of a relationship, and it might have just ended. Let's talk Aria and Gendry. What's your thoughts on this, guys? Are you heartbroken?
Well, he fell in love overnight. That was pretty quick.
It was.
I argue he's in love. He's been in love this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she
Right.
did save his life multiple times in earlier seasons. She's always had his back, so why not fall in love with a girl who's always had your back? But I did feel like the Hound set him up to be rejected because the Hound was like, "Yeah, go get it, man. I mean,
What a
he
terrible
survived."
wingman.
And he's been
Go
drinking,
get
so he's all
married.
confident and
Yeah.
stuff. He's like, yeah, you know what? And he's all high off of being like declared Lord.
Yeah.
Right?
And he just wanted to share it with someone who has been with him through it all.
Yeah.
But she told him what she's been saying from the beginning. I'm not a lady. That's not me. That's a philosophy she's had throughout. So she's basing it definitely on who she is. Who knows? Maybe there's time for her still to come
Change
around.
her
Hopefully
mind.
that could pull in an extra alliance partner that we could talk about.
Open her heart for love. I don't see it.
Yeah.
She was so cold. I haven't seen something like that, like a flat out, like deadpan rejection since Daenerys rejected Dario Naharis. You know what I mean? She's just like, yeah, no. But thanks, and then like almost continues to go back what she was doing like in that same scene.
Wait, I had a rejection like that last Thursday. Come on.
Oh,
It's happening all the time.
Well, on that note, Lord Gendry Baratheon of Storm's End. Does Jeremy? Do you know, or does anyone know? Does Storm's End have bannermen? Do we have? Is this more of a symbolic thing for Dany, or is it like he's actually, could play a role in this?
I've been wondering, the lineups and the count. So, we know part of Stannis' army abandoned him. There are definitely live Baratheons. There are, I don't know if Beric Dondarrion was in touch with his house, but that's I think a vassal house of that house, and he definitely allied himself. So are we going to see somehow some Baratheons in the field of battle? We didn't see them when we freeze framed it at the end, but who knows? Maybe there's going to be some. That's why I was just saying there could still be some alliance partners drawn in.
Yeah, it's right below King's Landing if you're looking, Ryan.
Yeah.
How'd you know?
I know where
looking-
everything is.
Yes.
On the map, we were just in Boston.
We were
With
we
the
were
map,
at-
we became very
were.
close to that map.
Okay, cool. Well, poor Gendry. I was rooting for him. At least they had some fun.
Yeah, I didn't
You
think
know?
Aria I didn't think it was a harsh rejection. I thought it was actually sweet. I think she was just stepping into her own self. Actually, this whole season has led up to Aria and Sansa stepping into their own light and who they really are. And I think it was sweet when she kissed him and basically said, without saying it, I love you, but. So I love you, but you can't change who I am, and I have my own destiny to fulfill, and it's not being a lady in your castle.
Yeah.
You know?
She's like, good for you.
Yeah.
That's great. I
Independent
got
woman.
arrows to shoot though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he handled it like a champ, I guess. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe he just went and drank somewhere.
Probably.
Next, we have the will they or won't they story of Brienne and Tormund, Giantsbane.
I was kind of sad
You
about
sad
that.
about that?
Yeah.
Me too.
Did you want
I'm
it
with
to
Kristen
happen?
on this one.
We
It
were
was
kind of.
sad.
It was a
I'm-
big love triangle between Brienne and Jamie and Tormund, and he
I
came
think
on
it's-
really strong.
It's the classic, like, you know, when a girl has like the hot guy versus the nice guy. Like, I feel like Jamie's the hot guy, and like the guy, the captain of the football team type of figure, and then you have Tormund, who's like the nerdy, like still a fierce fighter.
He's
obviously,
more the class clown.
you know, but the class clown and whatever. And it's like, okay, you went with Jamie, look what happened. Versus maybe if you picked Tormund, you could have had a better outcome. You know,
I still think there's hope for her and Tormund.
possible.
I mean,
They're both in the north still.
yeah, and sometimes you gotta go with the one that's not right for you, so you
figure
realize
it out.
what is right for you.
She could just send a raven. He went a little. I mean, he's just a couple hundred miles north, taking the people back. I mean, how many freak folk were left? 15. He's taking them back up to north of the wall, but she might be able to entice him back.
Sorry, she's too outside of that that upbringing. I don't think she can get over her upbringing in terms of like she's so fighting for that knightship and she's fighting for those titles and
Yeah.
like being that person who's code of honor, and he's so outside of that.
So you don't think she's going to send a booty raven?
I don't think the booty raven's gonna.
I don't think it's gonna happen now. I think maybe in the last episode we could see them come together because Jamie's
reconciliation.
not gonna be alive anymore, and it's just gonna be her and Tormund.
Real
and
quick,
they could finally get together.
There is a bird called a booby. A booty booby.
Okay.
I'm gonna say-
That's
I'm gonna
it.
say-
She could
Anyway, yeah,
send that bird.
The age old tale of what you want isn't always what you truly need. So I guess we'll see how it plays out. The Hound even rejected somebody at this party. There's a lot of rejection going on. Do you think Sansa set that up for him, or you think it's just like, I mean, why did we need to see that? Why did we need to see the Hound just like not want to have any fun?
She was taking a real interest. She was watching that from across the room, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And the Hound, I think, and maybe it's why we see him ride off with Aria later, he is still single-minded in a way that we've only seen one other single-minded character, and that is Aria with her list. And he was not to be distracted on that night or any other, which is maybe why they're on the horses together riding south. And who knows, maybe already at the south by the time this episode ends.
Yeah, they might be. So.
And
the
what do you
Hound
guys
doesn't-
think that is that's on his mind? I mean, obviously it's his brother, right?
I
He
think that's
wants to
it.
kill his brother. Clegane Bull maybe happening. But I don't think they're going to make a big to-do out of it. I think it's going to be one of the side fights, one of the fights we see on the side. I mean,
completely
what do you
agree.
guys think? Do you think...
I just want him to find some peace. It seems like the Hound is the kind of guy who almost had it there for a month, and remember when we saw him like raising a church with his new church buddies and they all got slaughtered almost right away. It seemed like, okay, here's a guy who, he might be all right. He might have a happy ending. And now he's so far deep again that he just wants to tie up all the loose ends, all the closure, because he knows there will never truly be any peace for anyone as long as his brother's helping out the Mad Queen.
And romance after.
Maybe, hopefully. Wouldn't it be nice?
With who? I can't imagine.
I can't either. But who knows? He might have a romance in the future. He didn't want one today. He might later on. Let's go and talk
Maybe someone
about
random like Yara or something, like someone coming out of the woodwork.
That'd
you
be
know?
nice.
Sorry, but did you guys think that she reminded you of Littlefinger a lot this episode in terms of like sending her women to the Hound and then trying to get the information out of him, and then how chaos is a ladder and every step she's doing in this episode is causing more of it?
I love that. And that's Steven in the booth, ladies and gentlemen. He's engineering our show live as we speak. And he has very good points because Littlefinger is amazing. And he rubbed off onto Sansa in a very tangible way. She is putting her manipulations into practice. And even when it came to betraying her brother or uncle, later on we'll get into treason.
Cousin.
What is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she even says, without Littlefinger, Ramsay, and the rest, I would have stayed a little bird my whole life. So she's definitely taking their wisdom and bringing it forth in her whatever plan she has coming.
She's a slippery snake.
She is.
Yeah, I think that's what happens to a lot of girls, unfortunately. Like, you have to go through life, and you have to honestly be, like, drowned in pains and sorrows and difficulties and losing people you love. And then, especially the way it's happened to her, she's had a lot of trauma that's made her grow up and find ways to protect herself, not in a physical way.
Right. We've seen her arc almost come full circle I would love to hear in predictions at the very end of our episode what you think the future holds for Sansa Stark. Right now, let's go to Jaime and Brienne. We saw them have a little moment. Brienne gave it all to Jaime, and then he took it all back.
Away.
Yeah. So tell me how you feel about the whole Jaime and Brienne arc. It really went 0 to. I feel like this episode, everything went kind of 0 to 100, real quick. And so they went and they made love, and then he left. I mean, how do you feel about this?
I enjoyed this whole storyline, and I always in my heart knew that Jaime would be drawn back to King's Landing, whether it was for Cersei for love or because of the war to, like he did with the Mad King, to kill her in order to save the people and do what's right. So I always knew Jaime was not going to stay in the North. When they said he was staying and all of that, I was like, this is not going to last. Didn't love how it had to happen and him breaking Brienne's heart. And that line at the end when he was like talking about how evil Cersei was, and then basically saying, like you said, Professor Jeremy Dann, like they're akin. Like they've got the same evil in them and the ability to cause pain and do harm.
Well, during our screening, we have with most characters what we refer to as the character arc, how they kind of have this shape to their journey. And I said he's essentially the roller coaster character. He has an arc this way, and then an arc this way, and an arc this way, and an arc this way. And we saw him almost wanting to go back toward that descending arc again when he had his redemptive journey all the way from the time he had that snowflake come into his hand down by King's Landing to going through the North to facing danger, declaring his loyalty to fight for the living, even though it looked like he might be on trial at that point. We saw him on that upswing, and then we maybe thought with Brienne this was locking it in,
right?
Locking in that noble side. But is he just saying like I can never be that noble guy? So
No,
that was what I was
don't
going to
think so.
ask. Kristen, what do you think?
No, so I think that you guys both think that maybe he's going back to Cersei, but I think in this moment, it was just the fact that he needed to tell her enough things like, I'm not a good guy. You should be with a good guy. That's not me. I've never heard him admit to anyone pushing Bran out of the tower.
Yeah.
So the fact that he admitted that out loud to her, and she obviously knows who that is, and strangling his cousin when he was being held prisoner by the Starks. And there was something else he said that he did that was horrible. Oh, he would have killed everyone in River Run. Yeah, I mean, I think that he just knew that was needed. Like, she deserves better, probably, and that was his way of breaking it off with her. But I think...
After he got the goods.
I think well, that's every guy. But, in my experience, just kidding.
Tee-hee, at Cinematic Escape.
I had a point here. So, I think he's, honestly, though, going south. Not to love Cersei, not to be there for her and help her, but he knows deep down that he is the only one that can get close enough to kill her.
Now,
and he
Well,
knows
I said either or.
that's what has to happen. I do not think he loves her. He would have stayed.
Yeah,
can
no,
see
I said
that.
either or. I could see it going either way.
I can't see it.
Why
going
wouldn't
love.
he just tell her that? I'm just curious.
Stephen in the booth.
Stephen
what
in
do
the
you
booth.
think?
Stephen in the booth.
So the way I interpreted this scene is the moment he has that change is when he hears that she decimated the fleets. And basically he's realizing that just as he did with the Mad King, he has to do something because he's the only one who can. Because otherwise, how is he just going to hold off after all of the evil he's committed when he should be the one to take her out to prevent even more people
I
from
agree.
killing?
I think that's.
Yep,
I think
I
you're right
agree.
on point. But my question is, why wouldn't he tell Brienne, "Look, I'm the only one who can get close enough to Cersei to make this happen"?
Because that's him being a good guy who she will love. He wants to make it easier for her to not want to be with him. He's like, I'm not this good guy who you think I am.
I think it's two parts. I think it's that, but also, as we found, word travels fast in flash travel King's Landing.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
if
Don't blink.
Cersei hears that he has left them to go back to her, and if that's what Brienne tells Sansa and that's what spreads, then he has a better chance of getting in.
I
True.
agree.
Interesting. Okay, I guess we're gonna have to see how it plays out. Jamie's on his way down. Well, next episode, maybe we can tell me predictions of what you think is gonna happen. Moving on to our next romance rejection. Let's talk the big scene between Daenerys and Jon. We saw that Dany had some emotional instabilities at the top of the scene. You know, there was a victorious thing, but we saw that she was struggling with obviously people are following Jon naturally, and she kind of feels alone. Her armies are kind of gone. Her Jorah's gone. She kind of feels alone. And now we see Dany and Jon in a room together. Jon's on his knees saying, I love you. I'm swearing an oath to you. You're my queen. And she is laying down the law as to what she expects from him moving forward. And she kind of rejects his proposition to be open and honest about his history as her nephew to the world, and she's not having it. How do you guys see this scene playing out? Did you expect that from her? And how do you think the dynamic of their relationship has now changed?
Well, I mean, I feel like in this episode more than others, we saw her being a mad queen, which is what Anna Kay had talked about. And in this moment, I mean, I wasn't a Dany fan anymore. I have been through all the seasons. I loved her. And in this moment, she says, the truth will destroy us. And that's not true. The truth would not destroy her relationship with Jon. What it would destroy is her claim to the throne, which was very obvious that that's the only thing she cares about now.
Sure.
And it hurt really bad for me to see her character not grow by this point in all of the seasons, but somehow they've made me love her and now not want her to be queen. Like, I'm on board with Varys' plan of what seems to be to kill her if she survives.
Kristen has turned, y'all.
I know.
She's teasing some treason.
Cold-blooded.
We're getting to that, and we'll talk about that real soon. But yeah, any thoughts on their relationship?
Well,
Jeremy?
Mostly from that political. I actually want to take that on the political aspect with the treason aspect, because I think what you're saying is totally correct. It was something that made her less charismatic. I mean, and I think you could almost read it we read it on her face as viewers of a show. I think that other people, like Varys, were starting to read it. She was not as secure in anything, and it's going to dovetail right into what we talk about next.
Right. It's a shame that, I mean, it seemed like for a few episodes they were truly kind of falling in love. I think that Daenerys seen a lot of success as a conqueror. I mean, she grew into her own as a strong, independent person who saw a lot of success, but I think that success fed her entitlement, and now she's locked in on power instead of what truly matters is the realm. Right? Doesn't it? I mean, what really matters at this point anymore? It's the Game of Thrones, and she's playing to win. It's unfortunate that their relationship is now kind of being sacrificed, so it seems. I mean, I wouldn't say that they have a successful relationship, would you? I mean,
yeah, and at first when she went in there, we even said in the trailer, is this a power play? Is she playing him by pushing this love, and if you love me, this is what you'll do?
Right.
And by the end, I really do believe that they do love each other, and that has been culminating in truth. But again, like I said, I kept saying Mad Queen, just like her dad, just like her lineage, Mad Queen, just like Cersei, because it's taking over, and we've seen it slowly build up. But this is the most visceral that I felt Dany's crazy lust for power overtaking all of her other emotions and her other abilities.
Right. She almost even threatened
him.
Yeah.
It felt like a threat.
It felt like a threat, didn't it?
It's also a huge shift from last time because she didn't believe him.
Exactly.
And now she 100% is calling it the truth.
Because she sees how these other people are reacting to him, and she sees that, okay, the Unsullied, I don't have that many left. Dothraki, I don't have that many left. I'm not in my own lands. She can see how the wildlings are rallying around Jon and how he has all of this allegiance and power. And so I think her visualizing it and seeing it changed everything.
Yeah, she feels threatened. She's projecting that threat onto him. And her position of power and authority is ultimately weakened. She cares more about her claim to the throne than the rightful claim to the throne.
She even says, I never beg, and I'm begging you. I mean, she literally is begging Jon to protect, to lie and protect this secret so that she can have power. And we haven't seen Dany really beg in that position.
I'll be surprised if there's very many Dany fans left after this.
Yeah. To be honest,
by the way, that term you used, beg, we have not seen Dany beg. Has she begged for anything, as you said?
No, to no one.
I feel like the closest she got was maybe at the walls of Karth. She was begging to be let in and then threatening to burn their city to the ground if they didn't. And it was that juxtaposition of switching back and forth between, I have no power, but I will destroy you, that
Mad
we've
Queen.
kind of seen her do this before in her development. Now here we are again with someone who she supposedly loves. Not only that, but is she's family. I mean, that's kind of. It's kind of weird to make that connection, but that's the truth. And so, honestly, I was kind of becoming, I don't know if I'm going to get skewered for this, but I was becoming a Cersei fan. I was like, this woman knows how to run a battle, a war, a city. She's, honestly, what's so bad about Cersei? To be honest, starting now, she blew up the Sept. But I feel like since then, she's been kind of chill.
Since she killed thousands and thousands of people and drove her own son jumping off of a ledge.
And she's inviting the people all in the castle and leaving the gates open. She doesn't, like Tyrion said, you don't care about these people. You never have.
But if all her enemies are gone, then at that point, is she going to be totally chill? Like, what if Cersei wins the Game of Thrones? These are too many questions for us to answer right now.
Well, and in the category we're talking about now, which is romance and rejection, who is the one person that didn't reject someone, that used romance and this potential of a relationship
Give it to us, Jeremy.
cement an alliance? And that Cersei is the only one with Euron that her line was, the lion will rule the land and the kraken the sea. And
our son will rule the seven kingdoms.
Everyone else had a chance to further an alliance. Number one, make themselves happier, which we would all like. But number two, strengthen the side they were on in their own personal fortune in the Game of Thrones or whatever you want to call this struggle. And only one of them really took advantage of it, and that was Cersei, to great effect.
Yeah, I as deplorable as the characters as they are, it really is cool to see them as a power couple. They're so tantalizing together. I don't know, it's something about it. So Cersei and Euron seems to be, at the end of this episode, weirdly, the strongest relationship that we have in the game. So good for them, I guess. Guys, let's. So that's relationships. Can't wait to see where they go and if anyone has a happy ending. Yes. Any last thoughts on it?
Can we have an honorable mention for Gilly's pregnancy?
Oh yeah!
Some good news.
Good point. Yeah. Very cool.
Very cute, and they want to name it John. I just thought that was a sweet little nugget in the episode.
I think he knows how it happens.
I know, so cute.
That was good.
And just to remind you and some viewers, if you saw our last episode, we play a game which we will play here coming up called Death Pool, and that's where I give our panel, or we give each other, a few names to decide, are they going to die or are they not? And AK, last week, I asked if Gilly was going to die, and you were the only one who said she was.
I thought she was.
So congrats to Gilly and her
now
baby.
She's a baby. I'm
AK
sorry, girl.
thinks
I'm
you're
sorry,
gonna
Gilly.
die.
No. I wish you well. I wish you and your kin all the best.
Honestly,
she might still die though. I'm just gonna say that.
No, she's not.
The internet definitely gave a lot of flack towards Sam's, what do we call it, Steven? Plot armor?
Plot armor.
His plot armor, he for some reason survived being swarmed by zombies over and over and over.
Well, so did apparently like 5,000 people still.
Yeah.
I know, right? Yeah, half the army apparently. We'll get into that with strategy. We'll wait. I guess the reason why he survived is to be a dad for little John. I don't know. We'll see.
And a maester at the Citadel.
Yeah, we
need him there.
Gotta have one.
Little John.
Little John. Hey. Damn it up for Little John. All right, guys, before we get into our treasonous portion of our episode, let's play Imp Cup. Yay! So at the beginning of before we watched episode 4, we wrote down some predictions for this episode, put them in the Imp Cup, and now we're going to see if they came true. AK, will you do the honors?
Yes. Looks delicious.
And for those listening on iTunes or Spotify or any other Apple podcast, any of your favorite podcast platforms, we have a big goblet full of popcorn, and within that popcorn is now it's all over the desk are our predictions. AK, what's our first one?
Yes. Okay, there's a Qyburn spy at Winterfell.
Ooh.
I think this was Krysten.
No.
Jeremy Dann.
It's gotta be Jeremy.
Tell us.
Well, you guys know one of my predictions before was actually a bigger kind of spy and betrayer, and I feel bad about it now because I predicted that Missandei was actually a betrayer
Okay.
in a big way.
I don't feel bad about
You
Gilly
did.
anymore because that just hurts.
But I do think
Too soon.
Too soon.
Going way back to the ambush by Euron of the fleet and ripping through that when he was able to beat Yara, and then abandoning Casterly Rock. They have been a move ahead on a lot of the strategic moves, and I thought they've had an inside source. In the way
That's a good point. There's a lot of Tyrion's plans were thwarted, right?
So it could be.
So
Yeah.
we could have a whispering spider in the web.
Yeah. Now, one thing I thought it might be, since I mentioned Qyburn, I thought we've seen lots of kids in Winterfell. They opened up the city. They put the kids in the crypt, and I actually thought we might have one of the kids revealed as one
Wow.
of the little
birds.
Little
Little birds.
And I don't know. So it didn't play out in this episode, but I wonder if we're going to see some sort of spy. It has kind of been in the background of a number of things at Winterfell.
I mean, we've heard Cersei has spies everywhere, so I have no doubt she has a spy up there.
Excellent prediction. Wasn't confirmed. You lose. Moving on.
You can throw popcorn at me.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. There it is.
Oh.
Got him. All right. Next up, AK. What's
Okay, Jaime will die at the hands of Cersei's army.
up? Okay.
Who predicted this?
I don't know.
It was me. It was so wrong.
In this episode, did you think
Well,
that?
I just thought we were gonna move faster. I thought we were gonna maybe get to King's Landing. When I saw the runtime, I was like, I thought we kind of did. Some of our characters made it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Like
I just
a
thought
dozen and a half.
I still think this is gonna happen, but potentially next episode.
Yeah, it's not a bad prediction, especially because we only got 2 more episodes left. Stuff's got to start happening.
happen.
Great prediction. You were wrong.
Wrong. Okay.
You lose.
Oh, Bronn, help me out. Bronn will be This is Krysten because I can't read the handwriting, guys. Bronn
Should've been
will
a
be
doctor.
confronted with having to decide whether or not to kill Jaime and Tyrion, but he will not kill either of them.
Oh my God! Ding, 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 ding. Wham, wham, wham. Once again, Krysten, you win. Tell
Thank
us,
you.
how do you know the answers to what's going to happen in every episode?
You know what? I studied screenwriting at the college. Shout out. And I just feel like studying writing, you kind of know what's going to happen. But HBO, like, if you need a writer, like, I'm around.
I love it. I love it. I love it. We've got one more in here. Oh my God. Sorry, guys.
Fine, this is your fault. You put it on the bottom.
That was not
So
my
far.
idea, but I'm all about
It
it.
was so far. Oh my God, you guys. Tyrion and Sansa will smash. It can only be Ryan. It can only be Ryan, you guys.
Oh, I'm sorry, you guys.
They did
I
have
wanted
a
it to-
chance.
Okay, let me explain myself.
Because she was sad about. Aww.
Look, I really thought that they might, after being put in the crypts and having gone through so much together, that maybe that they could have it could have blossomed and evolved into something more, but it didn't. And not only that, but Aria now doesn't even have a boyfriend. So it's like the Stark women are they don't need no man. And,
There's
but
always
maybe,
Robin Aaron.
Oh gosh.
But who knows? We might find Tyrion and Sansa
King's Landing.
getting closer together again.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I lose. But congratulations to Krysten, who wins another round of Imp Cup. I don't know how she does it. Screenwriting prowess.
I want High Garden, okay?
Oh, we're gonna have to fight Bronn for that.
Yeah, double or nothing. All right, guys. Thanks for playing. If you guys want to play along, go ahead and leave a comment as to your prediction for the next season. And if you're right, Krysten will throw popcorn at you.
Next episode. There ain't no next
Or
season.
next episode. Next episode.
And
Let's
while
do
you're
it.
leaving us a comment, give us a thumbs up.
Yes, please. You know what, guys? Honestly, real quick, it doesn't take much for you to smash that thumbs up, but it really does. It really does mean the world to us. It really helps out. I'm telling you, there's not a lot we ask for. Just thumbs up if you'd like. It'd be cool.
Gosh.
Also, 5 stars on iTunes.
Yeah, that'd be cool too. It really does
5
mean a
or
lot.
4.
We can't do this show
Give us
without
5,
you guys.
I don't know.
And comment, you guys. I run all the comments in our watch-alongs. It's so fun to see what everyone's saying at the while it's happening, and so it's really cool to take your comments into consideration. And whatever you leave here, we carry it into the next show. So even if we don't shout you out by name or mention it specifically, I promise you we read everything, and it feeds into our next show. So definitely leave us comments too.
Yeah, even if it means you're correcting us, because we get it wrong sometimes, and we love to see that too.
Our super fans,
Yeah, super fans. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Let's move on to our next subject. Our next topic of conversation is teasing treason. Now, there's a lot of treacherous stuff going on, a lot of backstabbing thoughts and talks, and let's start with the very top of the episode.
Yeah, it didn't start that way. It actually started like it was looking good for Danny. So 2 episodes ago, the one before the battle, I commented on this panel that Danny had about 5 or 6 conversations on that show, and none of them worked out well for her in terms of increasing her position. But it looked like maybe she'd learned from that. At the top of this episode, she brings out Gendry and totally selflessly, even though it puts a Baratheon in a greater position of power, she names him Lord of Storm's End and really gets a lot of momentum from doing that. And then while everyone's toasting, she toasts Aria, the hero, not claiming grandeur and victory for herself, but locking in more allies with the Starks and the Northmen. So really being selfless. It looked like she was really making good moves. But then Tyrion had a very good line after that. We may have defeated them, but we still have us to contend with. So
yeah, it's a good one.
we even see her starting to feel that position as she looked around that room, and it foreshadows a lot that we see later in the episode. She realizes there are other natural alliances, people having these real conversation based on past experiences together, battles they fought, love they have for each other, and that's the second where you could tell she's feeling isolated. And who shows up next to her? But Varys, who I thought might be making a power play. We learned a little bit different later, but
yeah, I mean, all right. It was clear from the start that she was alone, isolated, and feeling threatened by everyone else's like admiration for Jon. But I think for me, where it all started off was when Jon was giving the speech about all of the people who lost their lives right before his little eulogy, right? The longest speech I think we've ever seen Jon give is what you said, right, Krysten? Yeah, so we saw, and that was a nice little moment. We don't get a lot of that closure. We saw Danny lighting Jorah a flame, Sansa paid respects to Theon, Sam to Ed, Arya to Beric, and Jon to little Lady Mormont. So they all had their little moments, which was nice. But what I noticed was, all right, the Queen didn't say anything. It was Jon who naturally stepped up and said the words, which everyone is like, who does that? The leader does that. And during the dinner, she kind of threw something out there. Oh, hey, you're now a Baratheon, and here's Storm's End. I can do that because I'm the queen.
Right.
It's like she didn't even bring it up to Tyrion. She didn't talk to her council about it. It would just seem kind of like desperate.
An act of desperation. I was just about to say that. An act of desperation.
I agree, and I feel like this is the first of many times she's just going to act without considering anybody else's opinion. I think once Tyrion and Varys see how much, Varys already knows, but how much she's not controllable anymore, she cannot be advised. I think they'll do what has to be done.
I did read those 2 moves as her being savvy for the first and last time in the episode.
Yep, Steven, what's up?
What's interesting is, too, in that scene, we say that it's this episode where we start seeing her kind of become Mad Queen, right? But everyone in the room stopped and thought, like, everyone's faces looked like she's about to put him to death or something. And we also thought, Gendry might be gone, too. Like, so she's already created this energy around her where people are terrified of everything she's going to do.
No, I think she's established that as she's kind of that way. Tyrion definitely has mentioned more than once, I'm trying to, taper her. She does have a temper, and she does act on impulse. And she burned the Tarleys. She crucified the masters in Marine. Or Slaver's Bay. She tends to overreact and because she has the ability to with her dragons and with her armies, and no one can tell her no. So she just does things. That's why Tyrion thinks he's so valuable in this
in this ruling party because he's the one that said, every good ruler inspires a little bit of fear. And that's totally from our history and Machiavelli talking about, is it better to be loved or feared? She looks like she's tending toward that realm. Tyrion probably thinks he can manage that in just the right way. We'll see if either of them are going to work that relationship out well.
Well, all these evolutions of Daenerys's leadership style have laid the foundation for what we're about to discuss, which is everyone's temptation to commit treason against her. Let's go to the title of the episode, The Last of the Starks. We have this meeting between all the Stark siblings at the Weirwood Tree with Bran and Sansa and Aria and Jon. And Jon had just promised Daenerys that he swore he wouldn't tell anybody, and technically he doesn't.
I didn't feel like he said I won't. Did he say I absolutely won't? He was just kind of listening to her being like, you can't tell anyone.
Pinky swear?
There was a few of those scenes in this episode where I feel like they cut away and just kind of left it to us to, it was kind of implied as to how it shaked out, I guess. But let's, he tells them. Bran,
he doesn't really. Bran's like, it's your choice.
Well, we made Bran relevant again. We were all wondering how Bran was going to play into this episode, and he was very important.
Side note, how come a wheelchair is so impressive of an invention? Like, you put some wheels on a chair, everyone's like, there's he's like, yeah, there was one that they invented 120 years ago. But since then, there hasn't been a single cripple who's put wheels on a chair. I'm sorry.
Probably not one that could afford a wheelchair.
It's like a cart. You just take it and you push. I'm sorry. Anyway, I was just I thought the wheelchair was an obvious thing that was easy to make.
Well, the bicycle was only invented about 140 years ago in our society.
I guess.
Anyway,
the can opener was invented after the can and all that, right? Okay, so moving on. Now the Stark siblings have they know now that Jon is, you say their cousin, isn't it? Isn't he their uncle? Lyanna Stark's son. No, you're right, cousin. So they're okay. So now they know that he is not their brother. He is their cousin, and they take this information. It's like a stack of dominoes that starts to fall. Let's start off with. Let's talk about each sibling and what they do with that information. What does Aria do? She leaves Winterfell and to go down to King's Landing with the Hound. What is her motivation? Why did she leave? Why did she react this way? And what does she plan on doing with the information? Do you think that she is going to keep it a secret like she swore to Jon she would?
She's the only one I trust to keep a secret out of the entire family. I mean, Bran to a certain point, but I take Bran.
Bran doesn't tell anyone anything.
He just doesn't count,
He has no wants anymore.
Yeah, I
want nothing. I just feel like Arya, out of anyone, is the one that can affect them. Well, you know what? Let's not count Sansa out. We'll get to her in a second, but she has the ability to affect change, like we saw with the Veil, and she really has a strategic mind in a way that Arya's is different. And so I think that Arya's motivation going with the Hound, I mean, she still has her kill list. Cersei's still on it. And I think that is her motivation of okay, I've done what I could at Winterfell, killed the Night King, which I thought was so underplayed this entire episode. And I think her motivation is to go kill Cersei.
That's what she's. So do you think that getting that information changed her path and decision making? Because did she feel like she had some closure after the Night King? It didn't seem like it to me. She was still shooting arrows, she was training to finish her list. Finding out this information, did it change her behavior in any way?
I feel like it did not. I feel like she knew she had to be there to talk to Jon because she's sort of the closest person to Jon to get him to plant that seed of, listen, everyone's behind you. Do not trust her. So the only one, she had to be in that moment to get through to Jon, which I think she did a little bit because he actually said, okay, Bran, tell them. So I think she knew her part of that was over, and she knows Sansa. She's even said to Jon, Sansa's the smartest person I know. So we can take from that she's relying on Sansa to do with that information what's needed to be done.
I think you see her, right. You said, did it change her, change any of her viewpoint? I think it actually maybe released her back to her original viewpoint where she said, Jon said, if you only, what was his line? If you only have your family, if you only trust the people you grow up with, you won't have many allies. And she said, I don't need any allies.
I don't need many, yeah.
I don't need many allies. And so I think she's back to that philosophy, which is where she's been the last 3 or 4 seasons.
I think learning the truth solidified to her the fact that Dany was not going to be able to take down Cersei. Now she's like, I have to go do it myself. Like, so I think that it didn't change her destiny to go back to King's Landing and handle Cersei. I think it shattered her confidence in our Dragon Queen to be able to help them do it.
Right, so she feels like she needs to be part of it now. I agree with
in
that.
a more concrete way.
Do you think that she endorses Jon's claim to the throne, even though he doesn't technically want to claim it? Do you think that she's
Absolutely.
yeah? You think that's what she wants?
Always. I mean, her allies are her family. Of course she'd want them in power. I mean, she said, we don't trust her. She said that. We do not trust the queen. So, obviously, she supports Jon and the throne.
And Aria and Sansa have not, as far as we can see, they have not publicly bent to Dany.
Right.
So they are saying, no, we're Starks, and she's not our queen. They keep saying, your queen, this queen, that queen. Like, they don't say Dany is our queen. So, very interesting. They've drawn that line in the sand, and they've really stuck by it.
Even Tormund said, to the Dragon Queen. He didn't say to our queen.
Exactly.
Does Sansa know that Arya is going down and her intentions to kill Cersei and all that, or did Arya just peace out?
I think they know each other.
Do you think they talked about it? They know what's going on?
I don't think they talked about it.
No?
I think Sansa knows Arya at this point, and
Yep.
Arya knows Sansa and what
Interesting.
they're both going to do. I think they have an understanding of what their parts are.
Okay, speaking of Sansa, what's her part? What did she take with this information? What did she do with it? She immediately told Tyrion is what she did with it. What else do you think is in store for Sansa? I mean, she was never really a fan of Daenerys. She's always pretty much assumed independence in the North. Kind of, on the down low, she never really... But there was a moment where they were almost friends and they had a moment together, right? Last episode or one before that. But now, how does she feel about her position in the North, Jon's position in this game, and Daenerys as a whole?
I viewed that conversation you're talking about as maybe one step out of 100. I don't think they've ever gotten very close, certainly to being political allies, except for that battle. So look, there have been some people that in Vegas betting and whatnot are saying that Sansa is probably the best trained and maybe the smartest to win the Game of Thrones. So she maybe starts some of this information sharing to further that. Again, not that she is plotting it, but she's plotting the success of her house, the independence of the North, and things can happen and snowball. Literally, it's the North. So we'll see. Maybe she is setting herself up in these final couple of episodes to be closer to that discussion.
I agree. I think it's going to be Battle of the Bastards Part 2. I think we're going to see Sansa come in and step up in a way that Jon is unable to. And she's going to save the day. And I think the information, again, it's like Arya was destined to go back to King's Landing, in my view. The information pushed her to go now, saying, okay, I have to take control because Dany will not be able to do this. Same thing for Sansa. She's like, Jon is just not capable of taking this the entire way. I have to step in and do what I'm going to do.
I don't see Sansa hanging out for the next two
No.
episodes. She's got to, she's going to create some nice summer armor and go to the south.
I disagree. She's going to the south, but I think she will rally all the troops to be there and back up Jon because obviously Dany is not going to come up with a nice strategy plan. She's going to do what she wants. She's going to mess up.
Yeah.
She's probably going to fail. And then we're going to need Sansa to come in like she did with the Vale before. She's going to have to tell all of the North that he's the rightful heir, and I think that will have Tormund come back down with Ghost. And I mean, we're gonna need everybody. So the fact that he was going home to begin with shocked me.
Yeah, it was kind of. It's like you and all the wildlings are just going up north, but they don't care. They don't care about the games that the High Lords play, right? But Sansa certainly does, and she was trained really well from Littlefinger. She was planting that idea in Tyrion's head that Jon could be a better leader than Daenerys. And what did Tyrion take with that information? Now that it's out of the Stark circle, right? I think Sansa is the one who let it out. I don't think Arya is going to tell anyone. I don't think Bran tells anyone anything. So Sansa told Tyrion. What does Tyrion now do with this information? And how is he wrestling with it, knowing that there is a real political stake to the throne here?
What does he do with it? He chats with Varys. They're very chatty.
He tells Varys immediately. Everyone just takes this information because it's like they got no TV down there. This is the best gossip they've ever heard.
Well, Varys'
They gotta
line
talk
was,
about it.
"This is not a secret anymore. Now it's information."
Yes.
So So Varys, what's interesting is you mentioned Sansa had that line, what if there's someone better? And then Varys, you could see him kind of
well, they're talking about the
vacillating, going back and
qualifications
forth.
of the throne.
And he essentially, I mean, where there's still a little mystery as to what Varys will do, but it does seem like he might be defriending Daenerys, and if there's some issue with it, maybe on the side of Aegon Targaryen.
Varys went from I'm gonna say it again, 0 to 100. We're all real quick. He took this information, and I feel like he goes, "Wait, so Jon's a Targaryen? We should kill Daenerys."
Yeah, let's go
Like
there.
what?
This is his biggest move in the last 3 seasons. He's been kind of asleep for many shows, and now he is back in the game.
Well, it's because Littlefinger's gone.
Yeah, right.
And they used to go back
Littlefinger.
and forth, I felt like. But yeah, I liked how he said, I'm protector of the realm, and we finally got him to chat about what that was. And it's the unknown, the everybody else who doesn't have a voice, who doesn't have any power. So that's who he stands up for. And I feel like that's what we want. We want someone to advise a good leader who stands up for everyone, and that's not Cersei, that's not Dany, that definitely is Jon. I mean, he fights for everyone. He's not as smart as someone like Sansa, but because they're so close, I feel like they'd be advising each other. But I liked how Varys and Tyrion went back about the qualifications. They're like, does it have to be a man? No, it probably doesn't, but what it does have to be is someone who's tempered, someone who is measured, and we've never seen Dany really be that way.
No, we've seen people follow Daenerys because she's had dragons
Exactly.
and power and
She's a usurper.
right, and your people are naturally drawn to people in power, but especially people in power who do things to shake and move the systems that they're in. People who were slaves who now aren't slaves, of course they're going to follow her, right? And she's been emboldened this whole time, but now she's starting to lose that power and lose her dragons. And what does she have to move and shake anymore?
Yeah.
Is she really trying to break the wheel? Or is she just trying to maintain that grip on power that emboldened her in the first place? And I think what Varys and Tyrion are starting to see is that she's not necessarily doing this for the right reasons. She's talking about burning innocent people in King's Landing just so that she could take the throne, and there's no longer a motivation to make the world a better place, right?
Yeah, and I want to add to that. I completely agree. I just feel like you brought up this moment earlier. What would have she done if those troops that she, the breaker of chains, she broke their chains and she released them, they ended up following her. What if they didn't? What if she threatened them like she did when she was outside Karth? Would have, at first she was like, oh, please let us in. And then that turned into, well, if you don't, I'm coming in anyway. I'm going to kill everybody. So it's like, if those people, it made us feel and trust her when she was breaking those chains and releasing all those slaves, like she was doing it for them. But we didn't see what would have happened if they were like, yeah, okay, bye. Thanks for releasing us. Like, we wouldn't have seen if she was like, okay, never mind. Like, if you don't fight for me, you're dead.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's because it's like maybe she just thought that would work. If I give them the choice, maybe she'll, and we've seen her go through a lot. We've seen her do really noble things, really, benevolent things. Misa. She's been great, but she's also been pretty tyrannical. And we're starting to see the acts of a desperate, tyrannical person, and people around her inner circle are starting to notice that. And the ones that were closest to her, Jorah, her dragons, they're gone, and so now we see Varys going. Missandei.
Yeah.
Everyone who's followed her, like Steven said earlier, has come to an end.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what Grey Worm, how his relationship with Dany will be changed, or if he'll double down for revenge, or if he'll say, wow, like, we got to this point because of you, following you.
Before Grey Worm, I just want to point out that Varys, he never actually said that he's going to kill her, and I don't think that's his style.
Yeah.
He's a manipulator, and I feel like he's going to have like the butterfly flaps his wings effect on propaganda, spreading the word of Jon.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And especially if he has contacts with the bank and everyone like that, hey, there's a rightful heir here that isn't crazy, that is part of the Seven Kingdoms and a Targaryen. Like, look at that. That's a slam dunk. Meanwhile, I think Tyrion pulls this out when Dany's going to pull the final thread to burn everyone alive, and Tyrion's going to try to use it. What about Jon? And reveal that he knows.
Very good point. Maybe I could see that. I could see Varys and Sir Devos using their silver tongues to spin political prowess for Jon over Daenerys. Or maybe he could just try to kill her again, like he did back in the good old days, back in season 1. He's
Bring
sending
back the Arbor
assassins
line.
and stuff. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we've got some serious treachery going on behind the gates. Daenerys is losing the loyalty of those closest to her. Real quick, before we leave teasing treason, let's talk briefly about Bronn. Krysten, I want to send it over to you because you were the one who predicted this would happen. We have this scene between Bronn and Tyrion and Jaime. He was hired by Cersei to kill them in exchange for
River Run.
River Run.
And then it got upped.
And Tyrion turned around and said, "We'll give you Highgarden." And then he slinked back into the shadows. Where is Bronn? Where is he going? What is he doing?
He says,
what's happening with him?
I'm done, battling. At this point, I'm going to be a killer.
Yeah,
for
I'm
the
done
person.
fighting, but I'm not done killing.
Yeah, exactly. And to tell you the truth, I was actually shocked by this. I see this being out of character for him. I didn't like the way he completely acted like he was never friends with Tyrion and Jaime. How he just came in and now he's almost the Golden Company suddenly, and he's forgotten about their entire friendship, which he hasn't denied previously. And you even said in interviews, he said people aren't going to like my character this year.
Yeah, the actor Jerome Flynn said that. Maybe he's a little upset about that. I don't know.
I would be, because I felt like I really liked his relationship with Tyrion. And the fact that he's coming in there even almost breaks his nose. I mean, there wasn't anything likable about him in this.
Yeah.
And it was teased earlier in other seasons that, and they brought it up again this episode, Tyrion saying, if anyone ever paid you to kill me, I would double it, which they do say they're going to do. And I didn't think Bronn would kill them, but I just didn't like his approach. He wasn't friendly at all. He's not going to help them fight, which Tyrion asked him to do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get it. He's annoyed and he goes through the whole kill 100 speech. About that.
No, I thought it was, we really appreciated that little speech that he gave about how basically people who rise to power, they're originally cutthroats, because in this world, that's how it all starts off. What did he say? He said, you kill 100 men, you kill 100, they'll make you a lord. You kill a few thousand, they'll make you a king. Because that's how it works. I mean, look at Robert's rebellion. He rebels, kills enough people, the right people, now he's king. And so that's how it works. And he knows the reality of it. I think he's gone through a lot. And he had a castle, and then he didn't, and then he had.
So he's just fed up with the lies
he's just
and
at the
family.
end of his rope. He doesn't like being pulled in by these almost. Yeah, he's a friend, and this scene was an unadulterated betrayal of that friendship and that history that they had. But at the same time, these Lannisters have been using this guy.
Yeah.
They've been using him as the tool that he is, a killer, a soldier, a sword, and now he's turning it back around on them and said, look, I'm fed up with this. You guys, you better up the ante and hook it up, or I'm coming after you both. And so now we have him kind of lurking in the shadows. What's going to happen? Bronn's the kind of guy who's going to pick the winning side. And so right now I don't think he knows exactly which side that is. So he's playing both sides. And what happens when you play both sides in this Game of Thrones?
You lose!
You lose every time! So Bronn was teasing a little treason there against his friends. And that right there was our second discussion. Anything else about treason? Any other notes you guys want to make about surreptitious behavior by our treacherous political power players in the game that are left over?
Everybody's doing it.
Everyone's
It's
doing it.
trending.
Just one
Real quick, what do you got?
Jon Snow is the least of all the game players, and somehow you have a great line about this. I've said, and they're somewhat same and somewhat different, but I've always said that because he has no agenda, because he's not playing the game, you could say he's the winner, from a bastard to being sent to the wall, to somehow finding power at the wall, to somehow winning over the wildlings and all of this stuff. And it's because he has no agenda that people like Davos rally to him and do some of that work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But you have a great analysis for it.
I feel like people are going to hate me. He fills up, you guys. He really does. With all of these battles, he makes these categorical mistakes and has someone else coming in to save him, whether that be Sansa, whether that be Dany, whether that be the men in his watch. And Aria, of course. And so I just feel like, yes, he has no... But I disagree. I think he owes Dany the throne. And so now she's helped him win this war against the dead. And so I think his goal is to get her on the throne. And he's like, this is my allegiance. I owe this to her. I bent the knee. And I think he's so driven by loyalty, and he's so driven by what he thinks is right, and honor, and honoring his love of that I think that's what his motivation is moving forward.
You know what's not honorable, though, is the fact that he's had to live his entire life as a bastard, and people, calling him Snow and making fun of him. And finally he figures out and finds out that that's not true, and he's actually heir to the throne, and he has to keep it a secret for Dany. It's like, if you really loved someone and they discovered their whole life was a lie and they were treated poorly their whole life when really they should have been treated the best, it's like, wouldn't you want that for them to finally reveal that?
Yes.
But instead she wants him to remain a bastard.
And the people that really love him, Bran, Aria, and Sansa, are doing exactly that. Exactly that.
Free him from that bastard name, babies.
It's tough to watch Jon Snow get into dangerous situations because it seems like he just always gets out of them. Like you said, he fails up. He just screams at a dragon, and then he's saved somehow miraculously
he
every
got brought
time.
back to life, you guys. He failed so badly that he died, and then he got brought back to life.
Yeah, and he's kind of like the,
And I love
the
Jon
coolest
Snow.
guy in school, right?
Exactly.
Like, he doesn't really care about anything. And then you're just like, oh, wow, he's so cool.
He's so mysterious.
Make him the captain of the football team. Like, why not?
He didn't run for president, but he was the write-in vote.
Yeah, everyone wrote him in.
I mean, on the show, ambition kills everyone, so he's the only one who doesn't have it.
Yeah.
But now he does, and I think that's what's going to play out.
Does he?
I
I
think
feel
he
like he still
does.
doesn't want it.
And his dragon's gone. And I think that's a sign, too.
He doesn't need it.
Maybe he'll just die. Like a lot of other arc characters. I'm just leading us into our next segment, which is Death Pool. Do you think Jon Snow gonna get? No, all right. Let's move on to Death Pool, guys. Death Pool. So, I'm gonna give you guys a few names. You let me know whether or not you think they're going to be dead or alive by the end of the
Okay. Well,
series.
we know how good I am at this, so
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
You wanted to kill off Gilly.
No! I thought you'd be a
lives.
casualty of war.
Alright, guys, so this last episode we did Gilly, Bronn, and Gendry. None of those characters have died yet, so you're all still in the standing for that. This episode, first name, I'm gonna throw out some more main characters. Let's go Tyrion. And the reason why I chose Tyrion as our first name is because when he was standing there in front of Cersei, teasing her to kill him once more. He's done it a few times already. I figured this would be, I was honestly kind of hoping for it. I'm not going to lie. I was like, Cersei, just let the arrows fly. Show us that this Game of Thrones show still can surprise us. But she didn't. But still, I still think we can be surprised. What do you guys think? AK, is Tyrion going to die? Or is he going to
Not
be
yet.
alive at the end of the
Series?
he's going to live through the whole show.
He will not die in the next episode. He may die in the finale.
Then you're going to call him dead? You think he's going to die? Or do you think he'll be alive by the end of the finale? Dead or alive?
Dead.
Dead?
God, the pressure.
Tyrion's going to die!
He's yelling at me, you guys.
Kristen, what do
I'm
you got?
keeping Tyrion alive. I mean, George R.R. Martin says that of all the characters, he sees himself the most in Tyrion, so I don't think he'd kill himself, do you?
I hope not! Jeremy, what do you think?
That's why I always channeled the fact that he would be alive at the end. But what you said is like he's the kid at the zoo that's poking his finger into the lion's den one too many times. What's he gonna do? Like ask Cersei out for a cup of coffee to talk about this whole
Probably.
thing?
Next episode.
And you'll get some of that poison in there. So I'm going to say Tyrion died.
Tyrion's going to die! Very good.
I think alive but maimed.
Again.
I think he loses an arm or something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put
Maybe he gets another scar, a
I know,
matching
it's an
scar
X.
the
I'm
other
gonna put
way.
Steven over here in this category. I'm gonna call and put an M for maimed. Why not? Why not? Okay. You know what? I thought that for our next name, I thought that these two characters were really playing a dangerous game here. It was Tyrion and Varys, right? When we're talking treason, I mean, Daenerys, she finds out that they even whispered anything like this, they're going to be burned alive. And so I was thinking, let's just throw Varys in there. What do you guys think? Jeremy, let's start with you.
What's interesting before is Varys seemed to have like a network and real spies. He was the head of their CIA essentially. Now he's just a guy in a robe, right? Does he have any outside power? Does he have any operatives? I think he's operating without a net right now. I think he dies.
He's going down.
You know
Kristen,
what? I'm going with the red woman. She said, I die in this country and so do you. So Varys, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Varys.
Good call.
I think Varys is like a cockroach that will survive the nuclear war. I'm going to say alive.
Hey, all right.
I was impressed he could swim to the shore.
Okay, right?
He's always seeming to avoid physical
Exactly.
activity.
He's a little lighter, if you know what I mean.
His clothes look like they were poofy. Maybe they float. I don't know. But very good. We have one more name. One more name that I think might come up sooner rather than later with Clegane Bowl. The Hound. What do you think? What's going to happen with him? Kristen, let's start with you.
The Hound's gonna beat the Mountain. You know, the Mountain has to die. Everybody wants it. He's half dead anyway, so it's gonna be only half as hard to kill him. And I think the Hound, I want him to be happy. I want him to survive. If anything, he'll die saving Aria, but because I just want him to live and find happiness and be happy and leave King's Landing and
Just get out of Dodge.
get out of Dodge. And we haven't seen him stay for battles. I think he's going to go kill the Mountain, and he's leaving. I don't
gone.
think he's really going to stay. We've seen that a few times, unless, like I said, Arya needs him. So I'm going to keep him alive.
All right. The Hound's going to kill the Mountain and then get out of Dodge and maybe stay in touch with Arya in the process.
I'll jump on what she just said. In case Aria needs him, we saw in the last battle where Beric Dondarrion, essentially nothing could get Clegane out there against the Whites until Beric pointed out Arya struggling. So maybe that combo, maybe they're going to be doing some battling, and they'll create a great combo somehow in the next episode. But he has to make the sacrifice move. That's the only thing that I think could get him there. Otherwise, his preservation would come in. So
Dead or alive?
dead nobly. Dead nobly.
He is going down.
Nobly.
None of you think Arya could die to save the Hound?
I would love that.
I see the relationship
I don't see it.
I see them. I love the idea of them being like a fighting duo.
They'd be a great
We
combo.
didn't really see it with the Walking Dead or the zombie the Whites. You know, that whole scene looked like a zombie movie.
know, it was a
But like,
crossover.
I wanted to see them, you know, really tag team. I see like the Hound being the guy who like helps Arya dunk. You know, like she would like jump off his back, shoot arrows, and he's like, you know. So I want to see that.
I love Steven's prediction, though.
Yeah.
Arya saves the Hound because that's the one thing that would really change the Hound.
Well, it's also because she's just starting her life, but she's already basically given that up. She's turning down any like stability and foundation for having a future in this world, and the Hound's had to put off having that for so long because he's haunted by his brother. So I think it'd be really interesting if she dies to save him, and he has that moment of like now he can live his life.
I think he
Wow.
dies to save her, and then in his dying breath says, "Give Gendry a chance."
well, Arya said in a interview that her last scene is very lonely and dark. So
What are you gonna do with that information, AK? You killing the Hound?
I think he's alive. I want to see him kill the Mountain, and I'm with everyone. I want to see him just kind of go off and live his life.
All right, great. Looks like we have a little bit of a mixed, bag with these two ladies here. But Jeremy Dann is killing everybody.
Oh, Jay Dan.
I think, right?
Well, we have a lot of pent-up desire for blood on this show. A lot of
Yeah.
people were upset that we're for deaths, which
Me
is
too.
a scary thing about our society
I
and
know,
the fans
right?
of this show. But maybe they need to overreact in this next episode.
Maybe Cersei burns them all. I guess we're gonna have to find out, guys. This round of Death Pool has now concluded. Death Pool. Moving on to our last and final and ultimate
my favorite.
topic. All the synonyms for last. The War of the Mad Queens. Now, Daenerys called this the Last War. I think it's kind of naive to call it the Last War because there really will never be a last war, will there be? So, AK, we're calling it what?
The War of the Mad Queens.
The War of the Mad
The
Queens.
entire episode, like what I kept saying in the trailer, I was like, "Wow, look at how crazy Dany is. She's coming unraveled. She's on the same level as Cersei. Cersei, I always say it. All she had giving her humanity was her children, and now that the kids are gone, this fake baby in her belly and her wine drinking, I don't buy it. I don't think Euron should
You
buy it.
don't think she's pregnant?
Qyburn confirming with Euron. The fact that Euron had to look at Qyburn to confirm the pregnancy, I was like, I'm not
And
buying
the
it.
look on her face is just like, okay, she's looking
getting
at
pregnant.
Kyber now, and now back to me. You know, yeah.
I'm not buying it. The only thing that I will buy is her telling Jamie she was pregnant, but that's a side thing. I don't know about that. But I will say that I think that Dany has dropped to the level of Cersei, and I think that we're going to see these two women unhinged, stopping at nothing to get what they want, what they think is best, and they're going to be destroyed by their own greed and lust for power.
Love it.
Cersei's better at the unhingedness in that regard. So she came to terms with it. She's standing up on the battlements, and we see her trembling a little bit when she's talking to Tyrion. All of a sudden, she owned the moment. She had a nice grin. She was having a good time with it.
She loved it.
And the way you would look at this now, there have been people all along that have said Cersei's a long shot to be winning. Wouldn't that be the kind of way, just in the way Ned Stark's death from the first season let us know this was a different kind of show? Could we have a different kind of queen than we all expect? And the person that coined the whole term, when you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. Is that the person that ends up? I'm still not predicting that, but if you were a Vegas bettor, her odds have gone up in the last few episodes more than anyone else's.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to that point, and by the end, and I was saying it, and I'm like, I might be, hated for this, but I was kind of rooting for her. To be honest, I was sitting there going, if Cersei didn't have any enemies, this would be a pretty peaceful world that we're living in, honestly. It seems like she has the power, so she hasn't really been trying to do anything about it other than take care of Daenerys, who came from, the other side of the world. So like by the end I was like, especially when you saw Daenerys with her only 2 dozen, it looked like it's such a tiny little, she didn't bring her whole army. That's not what you do in those kind of, what are they called? Not peace talks, but parlays. But still, just to see Cersei in King's Landing with the scorpions on everything, it's like they actually know what they're doing.
I know.
Almost, you're like, wow, that's a tight ship she's got running up there. Almost like, could Cersei win? And how would I feel about that? I'm conflicted right now, which I love.
I'm not team Cersei, but I did have a moment of, I wanted to see her flex. I said, I want to see her for a moment. I feel bad that I even had that in me, but we all kind of have it in us, right?
Yeah.
I was like, all right, kill Missandei or hit Tyrion.
Let's go.
Something needs to happen.
Something.
And it was weird how the show turns things around. We always talk about it and makes you want things that you never thought you wanted out of your characters.
I want to talk about how much they have in common, actually, Dany and Cersei.
Yeah.
So they both have been victims of trauma. And we've sort of just seen that spiral. So obviously they both have lost most of their children. Dany lost her dragon. Cersei has lost all her children in various seasons.
And her real baby.
Exactly.
Dany's real baby.
And yes, and then they both have been tortured. I mean, we saw Dany tortured by her own brother, and we saw Cersei, having to lose her mother, unfortunately. Not blaming Tyrion,
they've
but
both been imprisoned.
Lost their parents. They've both been forced to marry men they didn't want to. They never really got to choose love. They both have been raped. They both have been, just these victims that have been through trauma after trauma, and that has led to them spiraling for power. And I mean, what else would we expect?
Right.
So we've seen other people deal with it better, though, like Sansa. It's made her better, smarter, being able to manipulate. And I think Sansa, in comparison with Cersei and Dany, actually would be able to do what's right for the people. Where at this point, where Cersei and Dany are, I just feel like they're too far down this spiral that they can't see past the revenge for themselves, getting that revenge and power for themselves because of what their cards have been dealt, unfortunately.
I think it's an incredibly insightful comparison between the two, between Dany and Cersei. It's not something that I really thought about before. You talking about it is like, you're right. You're absolutely right. Their stories are incredibly paralleled. And on top of that, with Sansa, we have the War of the Mad Queens, but then we have Sansa, the unexpected queen in the north, who has gone through similar, being objectified, different traumas. You did say it's made her better. I think that's an arguable point. I think that it's possible that she is not necessarily the best person in the world, so...
Not better, but I just meant it's made her from this weak girl.
Do you think that she's
taken
be...
a stand, and she's fighting for the people instead of herself. I don't think Sansa's fighting for herself. Like, I feel like Dany and Cersei are because of what's been done to them.
Sure.
I feel like it's more so that she has a better understanding. This trauma has provided her insightfulness and wisdom, perspective to try to make better decisions for other people. And I just see that maybe it's because they've lost more. She did lose her whole family as well, Sansa. So...
Yeah, I mean, what people is Daenerys really looking out for? It's obviously Cersei isn't looking out for anybody in particular. Let's talk strategy here. Let's talk strategy from the north coming south. We had them in their little battlement room with their map, and they said for some reason they only lost half their armies. I thought that was a little strange.
We were all shocked.
We were
by
all
that.
kind of like, well, I thought the Dothraki were gone, and the Unsullied were gone, but they only like. I think popcorn here. They only lost half of our armies. So
They had the
they're still in
dominoes.
the game.
They had the dominoes on the table. I thought they were going to pull them off, and there was going to be one domino left. And they were
Right.
like, "What are we going to do with this?" Like, I guess I'm not as good at counting as I thought I was, because I was thinking there was 80 to 90% loss in that.
Right.
If you think about, again, back to the original domino room when they had the war room, the Night King's forces looked to be about 3 to 4 times the size. We heard that force was 100,000 and more, so consider they had 30 to 35,000. So they still maybe theoretically have a total force of, 15 to 17,000 plus a dragon plus a fleet.
Right. Let's talk about. Yeah. I mean, their plan was, let's go down there. Okay. We're gonna. They had some questionable tactics. They wanted to cut off the food for the people in King's Landing to turn the people against Cersei.
It just
right?
makes no sense.
Did that make any sense to you guys, or did I miss something? I was taking notes and stuff. I'm like, wait, hold on. They want to make the people suffer for them to turn on Cersei. And that's not how it works.
It's a
isn't it?
common battle tactic, actually.
Yeah, but wouldn't they just be pissed that the invader is like blowing up their
They're
food?
not going to know who's
And they
doing
underestimate
it, probably.
Cersei's ability to mind control her people.
Yeah, I'm sure she'd be
she's
like,
a master mind
That
manipulator.
dragon queen out there is
Yeah.
burning your food.
Yeah.
And they all
And
blindly
that's it.
follow her. And I will say to Kristen's point about Sansa and comparing Dany and Cersei, Sansa's the only one grounded in reality. She's the only one during the war that was counting barrels of hay and food supply and what do
Right.
dragons eat, and I've only accounted for this through the winter. Like, she is tactically always thinking about the people.
Right.
And so to see Dany, talk about the food supply and then blindly fly the dragons into Dragonstone, which has been unprotected this entire time.
Yes.
It makes no sense.
Yes, they get in ships and they teleport down to Dragonstone.
Teleport.
Should have taken a month.
Yeah, a couple months later, blink your eyes and they're down there. And you watch the watch along. We're all just kind of like, so, and Jeremy
I called
especially.
it.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah, it
who
was
was
like,
it? It was
I
you,
said Dragon
AK.
Down. I Dragon Down.
Yeah, Dragon Down. I mean, and he's way down. There's some people talking about how he might be okay. Nah, he's
I don't
not.
know. I
But
think he could be
Rhaegal.
okay.
He's
The only reason I think he could be okay is because of what Jeremy said. Like, everybody in the prediction
What?
part, when we were seeing what's going to happen next episode, everyone's staring up the sky as if they're not just expecting maybe one dragon, but two. I mean, it looked like he's done. He's a sea dragon now. But who knows? He
maybe.
honestly, he could have washed up on the shore.
let's.
Got his neck.
Yeah, I know. I'm just putting it out there. Who knows?
So their plan was to go down to Dragonstone, to set up a home base and to reconvene with this new Prince of Dorne. This is a little bit of a gem that was dropped, right?
And Yara.
There's- And Yara. Did they mention Yara? I must have
Yeah,
missed that.
she took over the Iron Islands again, so
Right.
she...
Okay, that's right.
is in
Okay, so
command.
she's there. She's probably been working on building a fleet up, right? So let's assume that Yara and her fleet in the Iron Islands are gonna, I guess, come to a T with Euron and his Iron Fleet, right?
And the Golden Company,
in the seas. But we have this new Prince of Dorne that's gonna bring a force from the south northward. That's a new element that I think is that we can kind of keep our eyes on. But everything was kind of overlooked, and on the way down there, I don't know how many people they lost or like how many ships they lost. Like
Several
what really,
ships destroyed.
Ships were destroyed. A dragon is dead.
Missandei taken hostage.
Missandei was now she's dead. So Hand of the Queen is gone. Well, I guess Tyrion is Hand of the Queen, but her closest
advisor.
most loyal advisor next to Jorah is now gone. What went wrong here. I mean, the plan was, let's go down there and get ready for this war.
Well, it's the same logic.
It's the same old thing?
Leads you to put a bunch of people in the crypts,
Right.
even though you're fighting someone that
Raises
the
the
dead.
Right.
Where, you watch horror movies and there's always that phrase, don't go in there. Like,
Yeah.
let's take the shortcut through the woods. And the army of Danny and John keeps taking the shortcut through the woods. I mean, these are the people that put their trebuchets in front of their main lines where they could be firing.
Let's put a spiked trench behind our army.
Yeah. So
Just in case.
They need to retreat.
If we need to
into
retreat,
it.
then we can't.
They're making it interesting for when
is.
we saw, what was it, two seasons ago, when that fleet takes off with Tyrell ships, with Greyjoy ships, with Targaryen ships, with dragons flying above, and it was probably 3 or 4 times the size. Now we see where they're the smaller army. Now they said, Tyrion said, will be essentially at par. I don't see that. I see them small. They just imported 20,000. They have still the Lannister army. They have the Gold Cloaks, who maybe can do something, but you have siege works. You have the ability to resist a siege in a walled city. So I don't know. Maybe we're reading this wrong. The producers talked about how all the players in the game were already on the table, all the pieces. Mm-hmm. Is this Prince of Dorne a new piece? It seems very random. Now, the Knights of the Vale are in it, and it didn't seem like they were fully committed in that battle. As a matter of fact, I think we only had a couple of thousand of Knights of the Vale there. Sansa could maybe, it would be a little cliche, but maybe could bring them back into the fray in a big way. Are there other pieces that could be brought to bear? Or are they going to lay siege, essentially outnumbered? The final piece is, we've heard this story like 5 or 6 times already, the phrase, the Golden Company has never broken a contract. Mm-hmm. Is there going to be a first time for everything? Is it the Golden Company has its origins in actually to the bastard branch of the Targaryen family? Is there something that could play out in that way?
Steven, go ahead before I forget. Or you go ahead. I'll write this down.
One of the things I was going to point out, because your question, Ryan, was what went wrong. And I think they pointed out with some foreshadowing, even on Dany's side, when Sansa says, it's not only our troops that are tired. Yeah. And I think that directly plays to the dragon, because what if he had an extra month to recover before that? Could he have dodged those spears? So
yeah, and that was her. And Sansa was like, we're not ready. Once again, smartest person was like, we're not ready. We need to rest. And Jon's like, oh, we'll do whatever you want, Dany. Make more bad decisions.
Yeah, just because he's in love with her, he's jaded and wants to just prove in front of everybody, in front of her, like, I'm going to do what you say. Once again, we have people unnecessarily making these bad decisions. I have a few quick questions about that concerns about strategy, and wanted to hear your guys' take on it. I had a thought about Second Sons. Is Daario Naharis still, could he possibly come into play? Is he going to bring his army to help out Dany fight her battle? Is that possible? You think?
Hopefully. We need everybody we can get, but I don't know that it's going to happen.
For Aria's potential allies in Bravos, she has the faceless man, Jack and Hagal.
But they left on bad terms, kind of.
Yeah, do you think that could come back at all?
I don't know. I think I'm with Krysten that I think Aria borrowing a face may come into play in our final episodes. She may kill someone in order to, like, the Jaime thing, I don't know, but I would love that. That's an interesting theory. But I think Aria will go back to her training in the House of Black and White, and maybe that could come into play into how she takes Cersei down.
Interesting.
One of you guys mentioned during our viewing the fact that they opened the gates, and it seems like another devious but potentially good Cersei move of getting a few thousand extra people in the city that invaders have to fight through.
Yep.
But that also means you have hundreds of people that could be infiltrating. And what happens if Dany learned from, say, the Sons of the Harpy, the way they were kind of infiltrated and all over the city and could pop up and make some moves? And you were just mentioning Aria. Aria is the perfect type of person that can take advantage of that kind of situation.
Yeah, we think the Hound and Aria is probably already in there, as we saw them leave before everybody else. So who knows what they're up to in there.
So Cersei's strategy is to use the people of King's Landing as kind of like a
human shield.
A human shield, but it might come back to bite her, is what you're saying. Because she's leaving the entire inner workings of the city vulnerable to small little threats that could weave in and out, like Aria or other potential little birds. Okay, cool. So we have Cersei's strategy, not perfect.
Better.
Better. Daenerys' strategy, far from perfect.
What strategy? What strategy?
Very flawed.
Do you think that? All right. So, what about these? I know we talked about last episode the swords that were left behind. Any of those going to come into play? And also, Sam had some plot armor on. What was he wearing that armor for? Is the Citadel going to come into play at all as well? Are the Maesters going to, be involved in any way? I don't know. Do they involve themselves with this kind of thing?
I don't see so. I mean, maybe Sam gets there and tells them what's going on, and maybe they can help influence what happens. Maybe.
They have the ability to send ravens to every major house and to send a message to everybody at the same time.
Would Sam release that, John's the rightful heir from there?
That might rally everybody.
Would believe
exactly
if it came from the Citadel.
And does he have the burden of documenting that? Like, is it in his right to basically inform all of the other Maesters about what has transpired, the history?
I don't even know that that's for sure where he's going.
Yeah.
They really didn't say where he was going. But Danny was like, I'm going to make sure you're head honcho over there.
He still ain't
if you need a promotion, go to Danny, man.
I know, right?
Maybe for just short time longer.
Yeah, but she said that before it was revealed about the
So where's he going?
The double burning action. Remember, the Maesters are another group that I think, as Vera says, they are on the side of the realm and of humans and of knowledge and of continuity in that way. Would they play politics in this way of they're documenting
the Golden
everything?
Company, maybe? Would they do something to control the Golden Company, maybe?
Well, we have
Not from what I know.
we have
of them.
we have a lot of players in this game. Jamie's going down to King's Landing. We can't forget about that. Aria's going down there. I mean, there's a lot of individuals who can really. I mean, as we've seen how Aria ended the war, almost literally single-handedly ended the Night King's reign, like multi-thousand-year reign of terror. It's very possible that another single-handed play could end this whole war.
She could be. I mean, there's theories she's the promised princess, so
the princess that was promised.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't see her killing the Night King, but since she has, I wouldn't want to see her kill Cersei again, because we just saw her make this big, heroic act. So if anybody, I'd like to see Jamie do it, or or if he dies on the way and Arya takes his face, that's still pretty redeeming for me that, Jamie kills Cersei. But that's what I want to see at this point, is Jamie to be the one who takes down, the love of his life.
Cool. Let's go. Any other final thoughts about the episode before we roll into news and gossip and predictions, guys? Any final thoughts?
I was pretty satisfied.
All right, I love it too. Great job. Let's go. Any news for this week, guys? What do we got? Who wants to go? Jeremy, what you got for us?
I'll go. Well, some people might have seen Jason Momoa
Yes.
shave his very famous beard.
Look
Yeah.
at that.
That's J-Mo. And he did, he probably had to do it because he's getting ready to play a major role in the new adaptation of Dune.
Yes, dude.
I met him at Comic-Con, and he's rad. Really, really nice
Krysten,
guy.
didn't you say something like for every beer he drank, he had to do like 100 push-ups or something?
Yeah, his
Right,
Real
he had
Deal
to-
Mata, his trainer was there.
Yeah.
And they were
Cool.
talking, and he wasn't really drinking because, they mentioned every time he does drink, he has to do like so many push-ups or something.
And he's even more rad than that, because I bet he was drinking that out of a glass bottle that he recycled, because he's big into the environment. He did this to raise awareness about plastic in the ocean and dumping, and they called me and said,
Jeremy,
JD, I need you to shave off your beard to raise awareness. So he got millions of people committed to the cause. I could maybe get 10 or 12 here. No ocean dumpage. Keep plastic out of that
It makes
ocean.
sense
Well,
since
hey.
he's Aquaman.
I can't grow a beard, so I'm all for it. I'm all about it, you guys.
You shaved it off too to support this?
I shave every week or so. Krysten, what do you got for us?
Or you put some milk on there and have a cat lick it off.
Milk and
Anyway, so everyone loves, another news item, everyone loved the little bear, Lyanna Mormont, who we lost in the last episode, and she was played by Bella Ramsey, who got a lot of attention, doing great things in a small. They say there are no small parts, just small actors, and she proved that by being a small girl who was a giant actor in the scenes that she had. But what's interesting is she comments in a few of the news outlets as her parents still don't let her watch the show. So she actually thinks when she turns 18, she might be able to watch it. She says she watched a few episodes that her parents would watch with her and then essentially step in the way of the scenes that she wasn't able to watch. So again, just kudos to her. She's done an amazing job. Oh, and she also made some news, I guess, because she has some dancing prowess, and Steven was talking about this earlier.
Yeah, look at her breakdance.
I saw that video.
It gets crazier too.
It's going viral.
I saw this video online. I did not know that was her. I thought it was just some girl. I was like, that's pretty good. Look at this.
Now we know.
Oh my gosh.
She's not just a boss with her words. She's a boss with her dance moves.
Once again, if you guys are listening at home, go ahead and check us out on YouTube. You'll be able to watch some of this along with us, and you can see what we look like and all our crazy antics.
A girl of many talents.
She should have used some of that in the battle. You could totally.
That seems very useful.
Yeah.
Those moves.
So Bella is someone I hope we hear from in the future. I think
She's got a promising future.
She brings a natural audience to things she might get involved with, so she'll probably hit some other cool properties in the sci-fi and fantasy realm.
I love it. I'm a fan. What do we got next up?
Couple things. So our buddy Drake was at the Billboard Music Awards. This was this past Wednesday, and I love it. During his acceptance speech, he won for Best Album Scorpion. He gave a shout out to Aria Stark. So he said, quote, shout out to Aria Stark for putting in that work last week. Of course, talking about her epic ending in the Battle of Winterfell. So just goes to show that celebrities and us normal folk alike are just obsessed with the show. And I just thought how cool to get a shout out to your character by Drake winning a Billboard Award.
That is really cool.
Very cool. And then also, after the Billboard Awards, our girl Sophie Turner got married to Joe Jonas. So they had Sophie plays Sansa, of course, and they did a surprise wedding after the Billboard Awards in a Vegas chapel. And they had all types of celebrities there.
In Vegas?
In Vegas. And they just did a quickie
amazing.
surprise wedding. And she is married, and they are honeymooning here in LA and just living the life. So we're very happy for her. Real life Sansa getting married. It's great.
The yellow
guys, what's
wedding.
bigger, Drake or Game of Thrones?
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Drake is kind of a name of a dragon in a way.
Drakon.
Drake Karras.
Drake Karras.
Exactly.
We could go on.
Yeah.
Okay, you got anything else? We got some predictions.
Yes.
Is that it for news?
That's it for news.
Cool.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV
Predictions. All right on. Well, we had a lot of predictions throughout the episode. I mean, we were talking about, Aria ripping Jaime's face off and killing Cersei.
I don't think she'd do that. I think that either he would die, by the hands of Bronn or somebody else, and then maybe Aria would kill Cersei with her face. But after this past episode, I really think that Jaime knows he's the only one who's going to be able to get close enough to take out the Mad Queen Cersei. So I want to see Jaime, take out her. And I also think that, we talked about this earlier, I think Sansa is going to definitely rally the North, get Tormund and Ghost back down there to King's Landing to help Jon. And she's going to spread that word of him being the true heir, and that's going to definitely get people moving to help him.
Great. Any predictions about Bran? I'm really curious. Anyone have any idea if he's involved at all?
Pretty sure he's going to keep doing nothing.
Okay. That's a solid prediction. I think you might be right.
I don't know if the King's Road is wheelchair accessible. I don't think he can make that full trip.
I don't think
he'd probably get there faster.
Naughty.
Right? He would just warg into a raven and fly there,
Maybe. Remember there was that prophecy about flying.
Yeah, well, he's been
flying in the ravens.
Maybe he knows that Rhaegal is in the bottom of the sea, and he'll go. He'll
Just
find a
rest.
Rhaegal
way.
is dead. Let him go. Let him die in peace.
Can I do a final episode prediction?
Yes, please.
It's a little bit out there, but I think Daenerys takes the Iron Throne, but all of the people have already been made aware that Jon's the rightful heir, and she's going to burn everyone just like the Mad King.
Oh my god.
And Jamie has to be the one to kill her.
Or John, you mean?
No, Jamie. I think to
Kingslayer.
bring his Kingslayer storyline full circle.
With Oathkeeper.
You think Jamie's gonna kill Daenerys?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
Bold.
That's what predictions
Steven
for you,
in
ladies
the
and gentlemen.
booth.
That's why you come to our show to watch, because we got predictions like that up in here.
That's a bold one.
That's a bold one.
I have a
like
smaller
it.
one, but it's
Steven
in the
only gives
spirit.
bold predictions.
It's in the spirit, again, of the pieces being on the board that are going to play a role in this. And that is, maybe we saw this restoration of Gendry from a Rivers to a Baratheon for a purpose. And maybe Gendry will show up and be a factor in this battle with some troops. Having his Warhammer, having some Baratheon armor. And this surprise kind
see
of
it.
lark of the mystery Prince of Dorne. I mean, I just frankly don't know if I expect to see 15,000 Dornish men on the field, but it would be more interesting for the characters to have Gendry out there with maybe even just a few hundred Baratheon. And by the way, then he's another character that's working his way up the board in terms of who's on the Iron Throne at the end of this. Again, like Sansa, a real long shot, like Cersei, a real long shot. But these long shots, I think, in this last episode, all really came up the board, and Gendry would make some points by showing up at this battle with
Jeremy,
some Baratheon
you just
men.
blew my mind.
Great.
Because her rash decision of making him a Baratheon this episode can bite her in the ass when he endorses Jon.
Yeah.
I love it. That's why Daenerys, you always consult your counsel before you make these these decisions. AK, do you have any predictions for us? Anything you think's gonna happen? Just throw it out there in the wind.
It's
See if
kind
it
of like
sticks.
what I've been saying. I feel like there are these dualities that can't exist in the end, right? Like Jamie and Cersei both can't exist in the end. I really do think that Jamie, I'm with Krysten on this one, I do think that Jamie is going to kill Cersei. If not Jamie, then Aria potentially under the guise of Jamie, or there's going to be some collaboration there. Same thing with Jon and Dany. They can't exist in the same world together. So I think that either Jon will come around and do what's good for the people because he's such a man of honor, and maybe he will end Dany, or he's going to be part of the team that does. Also, Little Grey Worm, I think he's going to turn on Dany. That's going to be my main prediction for the next episode. I think with Missandei gone, I think he's going to have sort of a come to Jesus moment and say, what am I fighting this war for? What am I doing? Like, I just lost the love of my life, and I've lost my army, and I'm unsullied, and where do I go after this? What do I do? And so I think that he's going to be part of this team, this collective that's going to build to basically say that that Dany is the Mad Queen.
Interesting. I like it. If I had a prediction, I'm gonna throw out there that Bronn's gonna kill one of the Lannisters, and that
One of three?
one of them. Just let me off easy for that. And then I
Lancel
also think,
Lannister doesn't count.
And I think, yeah, right. And I think Daenerys is gonna kill Varys after she finds out that he's been talking to people. Those are my predictions.
I like that.
If you guys have your predictions for the next episode or for the series as a whole, please leave us a comment.
Yes.
It's a wonderful
Put it in the
stream
M-Cup.
of comments. We'll put it in the M-Cup for you. This is a lot of fun. This episode.
Yeah.
Guys, make sure to subscribe. Go to youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV Sci-Fi. Check us out there. We're on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Shazam. We're everywhere, and we love that you guys watch, so please give us a thumbs up. It really helps out if you like our show. I'm Ryan Malaty. You can find me everywhere at Ryan Malaty, okay?
I'm Anna K. Thomas. You can find me on everywhere, especially Instagram. It's my favorite, at Anna K. Thomas.
And I'm Krysten Elizabeth Snyder. You can follow me at Cinematic Escape.
I'm Jeremy Dann. You can't find me anywhere.
He's off the grid, but we're on the grid. We'll see you back here, same time next week. Vala Magules.
Valor de Harris.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.